Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. Today, we're going to talk about when and where the C8 Corvette is going to be revealed. Alright guys, so there has been a slew of C8 happenings over the last few days, and we're going to cover them all here. First, there has been an official quote-unquote teaser video released by GM to build further hype for this car. The video is pretty awesome, and I'm actually going to link it in right here.
Is your seatbelt fastened? Alright. Let's go.
Definitely short, but definitely sweet. Lots of Corvettes shown, and it's definitely something to build even more hype for this car. There are a lot of Easter eggs in this video if you pause it at certain points and even watch it in slow motion, but I'm sure you guys already saw them. At this point, I'm not really sure how much more hype GM needs to build, but they are definitely maximizing it. Second, there has been an official reveal location for this car, and it's going to be in Orange County, California. GM is keeping it in the US this time and purposely pushing it into an area that has the 6th highest populated city in the States. This is likely to ensure the best possible visibility at launch. They have already confirmed the reveal will also be streamed live on the internet, so it is set to reach as many people as possible. The real interesting thing about this particular invite is that it is the first time GM has referred to this car as being quote-unquote mid-engine. And that's amazing. We finally got confirmation from GM of the reveal date, the location, and now we're getting confirmation that it is in fact a mid-engine. Of course, most of us have already known this, but there have been so many people out there insisting that this car was not going to be a Corvette. Then they said it wasn't going to be mid-engine. Well, now we know for sure. I'm still waiting on my invitation in the mail, but rest assured guys, if I get one, I'll be there. There was a lot of video footage from the trip to the National Corvette Museum on the 26th of April, one of which was Tad's driving the car around in front of the museum. I'm going to play that video for you right here.
Kept the exhaust quiet. Couldn't get away all the way.
One thing I really noticed about this car is just how strange and awkward it looks. Everything's covered up and the dimensions of the car just don't look right. With that said, there is a member on the midenginecorvetteforum.com that claims that he has a friend that has seen the car without any camo on it, and he says it's quite different looking than what we've seen. Now, this is something I've been saying for a while. I've thought for a while that GM has purposely been disguising this car with fake panels, etc. to throw us off and build hype even further every time we see it with less and less camo on. Just like I talked about in my previous upload, the one piece especially on the door that just looks like a random triangular piece stuck to the side kind of tells me GM is purposely making this thing look strange just to throw us all off. Now, this could just be me having some wishful thinking because a lot of the design of the car doesn't really do anything for me, but at the same time, sometimes I see it in different light and it looks okay. I'm a firm believer, though, that come the July 18th date, we're going to get something very different than what we've been seeing so far. And I've heard a bunch of different rumors suggesting exactly that. So there has to be something to it. Or, like I said, at least I hope so. I remember some of the first shots of this car when it first came out, and they looked almost completely different than the stuff that we're seeing now. He says at one point in his post to forget the renderings that we've seen because the car looks completely different and compares it heavily to a 5th generation Viper. He says the front and the rear bumpers are pretty close, but everything else is completely different in the real model. Anyway, this user on the mid-engine CorvetteForum.com goes on to say that the car will have about 530 horsepower right out of the gate, which is quite a step up from the 460 that the C7 Stingray has. I compare the two because the LT2 is said to be a slightly reworked LT1, but 70 more horsepower isn't exactly anything to scoff at. He says that the roof is actually a target top and that it is completely retractable, meaning basically there's no reason to worry about the cargo space to store it because the car's actually going to pull it down and store it inside itself. So storage space as far as the target top's concerned is not really an issue. Now, that is kind of surprising because there is still supposedly a Spider-style full convertible hardtop option coming, and Chazcron actually did an awesome video rendering on it in action. I'm going to play that right here for you. Now, this member goes on to say that the seats in the car are not Recaro seats, as some of the pictures from the Nürburgring have suggested. But he says they are much improved over the previous generation seats. That's pretty impressive because I always thought the seats in the C7 were already pretty awesome, especially the competition seats. But apparently these ones get even better. He says, as we already know, there is no manual option. We've talked about this a bunch of times before, and the leaked option list for the C8 mid-engine Corvette was pretty clear that you're only getting one transmission option, and it was the 8-speed automatic dual clutch transmission. It's kind of a shame, but I'm still holding out hope that the higher performance-oriented models have some sort of manual offering. GM has filed patents in the past for a clutch-by-wire system that leads me to believe that we will see a manual in the C8 at some point. If I had to guess, it's not going to be until the Z06 or ZR1 equivalent. Now, with that said, he actually goes on to say that there is supposedly 2 more models after this quote-unquote base model one gets released on the 18th of July. And he says that it will be a Z06, and the other one is either to be a ZR1 or a Zora. They apparently haven't decided on the name yet. That's what he says. There is also said to be additional venting on the Z06 as well as the ZR1 or Zora hood, similar to what's shown here in this rendering. As I talked about in my previous video, the 7/18/19 date is also apparently a timestamp from a track. I've talked about this before, and I figured it was probably a Nürburgring track time, but the member on the mid-engine CorvetteForum.com doesn't know what track it was. But like I said, I have to assume it was the Nürburgring.
You should never assume, because when you assume, you make an ass of you and me.
Now, as always, we have to take these rumors with a grain of salt. When it comes to a new forum member possibly just trying to get attention or trolling people, we never know exactly what's happening with these guys. Now, with that said, we're so close to hearing the official information and official confirmation from GM on all this stuff that I could believe a lot of what I'm reading here. A lot of it fits with previous rumors we've heard, and it all kind of makes sense to me. But honestly, I am super excited for this car, and I cannot wait to see this thing in person. Every time I read additional rumors or additional leaks for this car, I get unbelievably excited. I feel like a kid on Christmas time when it comes to this car. I am still a little disappointed we're not going to get a manual transmission offering, but honestly, like I've said before, The whole evolution thing applies here. If you want to stay relevant, you got to evolve. And one of the biggest things that pretty much every car company seems to be losing is the manual transmission. Now, that definitely doesn't make it right, and it still is going to hurt to lose that for me personally, but the car will be a little bit faster, and it really just seems to be the way the car companies are going nowadays. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are to this information and if you'll be attending that reveal in California. I'd love to make it myself. I'm waiting for my invitation in the mail, like I said. Fingers crossed. But worst case scenario, if one of you guys are able to get out there, feel free to send me pictures and videos just so I can pretend that I was there too. Definitely some interesting stuff from the member over at the Mid-Engine Corvette forum. If he's right, then I think we're definitely going to be seeing a much different looking C8 come July 18th. Give me a big thumbs up if you guys like this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd love to have you join the Horsepower Obsessed community. And as always, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.